Nailed it. What's up, everybody? This is Jake. Welcome to the official Plugged In Vodcast. I'm sitting here alongside
Bob
Hoos and Paul Acey, or vice versa, one of the two.
And by the way, we're in the Adventures in Odyssey Foley room, in case nobody's mentioned that earlier, and we just rode in on our horse. Okay.
Here we go.
Fine.
For those of you that don't know, Bob here, I used to listen to Bob's episodes of Adventures in Odyssey.
Oh, and
Yes.
you probably still can anytime
My kids
you want
do.
to. Yeah.
Are they going to bring Jay back anytime?
Well, that's a secret.
Okay. All right. That is exciting. Okay, but we're not talking about Adventures in Odyssey today.
No.
We're talking about Miracles from Heaven.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about that, Bob.
Well, I reviewed it, and so I'm going to sort of lead things out here. And by the way, if you have never seen the trailer, that's good, because actually I think the trailer gives away too much. But it's a fairly simple story about a simple but miraculous. A story about a family by the name of Beam, the Beam family, whose middle daughter comes down with a digestive disease that's incurable. And it's essentially the story of them struggling through this, them wrestling with their faith, and then something that happens that sort of turns the corner at the end, and we won't talk about that. But
does the title spoil the movie?
Yeah, right. We do want to talk a little bit about it, about the film in general.
Yeah.
But I thought before I just sort of came out and just said, well, here's what I like and here's what I didn't. I would set it up a little differently. Differently, because the fact is this is a Christian film, obviously, Miracles from Heaven, and what it's essentially a message film. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of different types of message films. They don't have to be films of faith. It could be films about, global
Aliens.
Warming or whatever,
District 9,
although global
Elysium.
warming is
Yeah,
sort
no,
of a question of faith anyway. But we won't get into
Those
politics.
are message movies.
But message
Very
movies,
clearly.
and a lot of people don't like message movies, to be really frank. And I wanted to talk about that really quickly, just very briefly. Why do you guys think that people don't like? What are the things that people don't like about message films?
I think one of the big problems that people have is the message part of the message movie.
Yeah.
Because I think that you walk in, you're expecting to be entertained, and then you have this heavy point that is being made, and that can be a little bit difficult. I think that's one of the reasons why, some of the anti-war movies from a couple years back, they didn't do very well at the box office because they were message movies.
Because people don't like to be preached at in general.
Mm-hmm.
In general, people tend to enjoy movies that have stories that can pull them in and immerse them, where you become so part of the people that you're watching and their story that you almost forget that you're watching a movie. And with a message film, that's not easy to do.
Yeah, I mean, we're people, and we like characters, we like stories, we like creativity. So that's why we like character-driven films, or story-driven films. But then when the engine of the film is the message, like all of a sudden it's like, well, that's not connecting maybe with me on an emotional level, because I want to connect with the characters.
It feels a little more like a lecture.
What else, though? What other things do people not like about message films? And Christian films and things of that nature.
The writing tends to be
Yes.
less creative.
Yes, I've often thought of some message films as being sort of a cross between reading a phone book and watching one of those infomercials about medications that might make you bleed internally.
Those are fun.
They're just not. They don't pull you in.
5
They don't
plugs.
get you involved. So yes, the writing
so
the writing can be
writing-
weak. What else?
Well, acting.
Acting.
Often.
Yes.
Sometimes, you have exceptions, of course, because I think about The Big Short, which was nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah.
That is a clear message movie, and as such, it didn't connect with me very much. But that was one of the maybe the exceptions that proves
Well,
the
actually,
rule.
it was
But
the
well
acting
received by people.
It was the acting in that film that I thought made it compelling. Yes. And okay, so that's enough to talk about there. And so why do I bring that up? Because all those areas that we just mentioned that we thought of as potential weak areas in a message film are the very things that I think are the strong areas and the strength of this film, of Miracles from Heaven. we ended with acting. And acting is one of those elements in this one that is really very good. Jennifer Garner plays the mom, Christy Beam, and she's really... She's not just a pretty lady, who you might have seen in a TV show at one point. She's really
credit card commercial.
She's really got the acting chops, and she makes this film very, very compelling and very involving. I really liked her character.
She's so likable.
She struggles through her daughter's pain and wrestles with her faith in the context of this, and it's so believable.
Yeah.
In fact, the daughter's excellent too. Kylie Rogers is the daughter, Anna, and they both do well. Everybody in the film is actually pretty good, but those two are real standouts, and it really makes a difference in the film. That's one element. The directing on this film is really good, which means that the pace of the story comes along. And the writing isn't bad either. I was talking about the writing of things. The fact is that you've seen them before, the films that are all so cheesy, from beginning to end, it's pure Roquefort, but this one isn't bad. This one, cheese. This one has a few sprinkles of Parmesan here and there, but overall, it's really good. And it comes down. And there was one moment in the writing actually that stood out to me, and it's near the end of the film. Again, I don't want to give too much away, but there's a turning point in this family's struggle with the daughter's disease. There's a turning point where something happens, and the daughter believes it to be something very miraculous. And her mom says to her, well, honey, there are a lot of people out there that aren't going to really swallow this miraculous idea, these miracles. And the daughter says, it's okay, Mom. They'll get there when they get there. And that stood out to me. Why? Because it seemed to be the mindset of the film. Mm-hmm. The film wasn't one that was going to beat you about the head with a shoe and say, you must believe this. It was a film that said, it was like the filmmaker said, here's a story that we think is compelling. Yep. We're going to lay it out there as best as we can. And then the rest is up to you.
Yeah.
You can take it. You can take it where you want to take it, or don't.
Yeah, and I think that's really the beauty of good storytelling, and in some ways, it's encapsulated by that very comment. You'll get there when you get there.
Yeah,
is the ability of a good story. I saw the movie as well, and I really liked it as well.
Yeah.
The ability of a good story to draw you along, and in a way at your own pace, even though, of course, the movie isn't going to get shorter or longer,
right.
But it sort of allows you to sort of walk along with these characters, to sort of
care about them.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. They become sort of these multi-dimensional people who you really, really care about.
Yeah.
And because of that, it sort of walks you along very gently and very naturally. Whereas your typical message movie, it's almost like you're being led. You're almost being dragged to the end.
Right, and it really hammers with, this is the takeaway you're going to have from our film.
Right.
Whereas I think the things that tend to stick with us the most in life, whether it's in a movie or a book or even just the lessons we learn in interaction with each other, are the ones that we have to work out for ourselves.
Right.
I mean,
well, let's
especially
face it,
our faith.
That's a great element of good movies is when you walk out thinking about something and you talk to your significant other or your friends or whatever, and you're really working your way through the things that you just saw on film.
Right. And when you think about faith, you were just saying this. I think that is exactly how we get to faith. It's through, we have to get there on our own. And we can be walked there. We can even be led there to some extent, but we can't be dragged there. We have to get there on our own.
Right.
And stories allow you to get there on
especially ones like this. And the one little last thing, the one thing I was talking about, they'll get there when they get there.
Yeah.
That struck me as something of a graceful moment for people that might not be believers watching this. You know, sometimes we invite a friend to a Christian film and we think, ooh, how are they going to take this, but the film itself is so gentle in that area that it's not offensive to someone who might be offended by any mention of faith at all.
Right.
It just gently leads you in and says it's yours to take or refuse depending on where you want to be.
Yeah, which is how Jesus did it. He told stories. That's Mark chapter 4. All was taught in parables because that's how people could understand it and begin that journey. All right, so there you have it. Thanks, Bob and Paul. We've been talking about miracles from heaven. Be sure to check out the review here at pluggedin.com and then shoot us a comment below. What do you think about message films? Do you love them? Do you hate them? What is it about them that drives you crazy or really inspires you? And then be sure to like and subscribe to us on YouTube because that's how we keep getting to do these conversations.
We like likes.
It's true. It's true.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Signing off until next time. I'm Jake.
I'm Paul.
Bob.
This is the official Plugged In Vodcast. We'll catch you on the flip side.
See ya.
Bye-bye.